Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce Ng. Joyce, it's a wonderful day for Oscar. Oscar.
We're not doing Oscars playback. What are you
Oh
doing?
yeah, sorry. No, we're talking
No
about our
worries.
Oscar
Take
picks though,
over.
Joyce.
Um, yeah,
Our early
revisiting
Oscar
them.
picks
I
back
mean,
in
it's not
March.
that early.
No, but back in March we made picks right after the Oscars,
Yeah, on March 15th, I
and now we're
think.
back. We're recording this on August 22nd, so it's maybe a week before Telluride is announced and all these different things. But we've got a good sense maybe of what we're going to see in the fall, and so we're updating our picks. Are you excited?
I mean, they've already been updated the last couple weeks anyway,
On the
but
website.
they're pretty different, I would think, from what I had in March, which I did not bother going back to see what I had.
I gotta say, we're gonna go through all the top 8 categories. So best picture, best director, best actor and actress, supporting actress, adapted screenplay, and original screenplay. I was pretty impressed with, at least on picture, how I've still have 7 of the 10 that I had in March. Whether these end up being actually right, I think we did this last year. One of my movies maybe got in, and I think maybe 2 of yours got in from March.
Well, also, how are we like counting things that are not this year?
I think we're not gonna take it
Are we
down.
penalizing
No,
ourselves
we're
for
not going to
that?
take it now. We're just going to say tough shit. So Blitz was one we both had, I think, in March.
I mean,
Blitz is
last year everyone had Killers of the Flower Moon.
correct, and neither that didn't come out. And Blitz is another Apple movie that will come out next year. So uh we'll start with best. I'm just going to go through them, Joyce. Best picture for me, and then I'll give you. So I guess I'll do my March picks and my August picks. Then I'll tell you your March picks, and then you
You're
can
gonna
tell me your
surprise me with
August.
what I had, how
Yes,
good or
because
bad I
I have
was,
the
how
list.
bad I was.
They're not that bad. I have the list, but I didn't share it with you beforehand, which makes it even fun. So in March, I had Barbie. Good job, self. Blitz, The Color Purple, the movie Dumb Money, Dune Part 2, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, and Poor Things. So of those, the only one that's really not coming out right now as we record this is Blitz. It's not scheduled for this year. Dune Part 2, people are still whispering that it might not come out. I'm pretty sure it's going to come out. Dumb Money is at a TIFF. And there you go. For August now, my updated picks. I have Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Color Purple and Dune Part 2, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, and Saltburn. So the 3 I dropped were Blitz, Dumb Money, and Poor Things, and the 3 I added were Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, and Saltburn. And I gotta say, it was really hard not to put Air in there, Joyce. Really hard.
I mean, I saw Air a week after we did this in March, and I didn't have Air anywhere, and I was like, I really want to put Air somewhere. And now, 5 months later, I still don't have Air anywhere. Spoiler alert.
I feel like it's a great movie that people really liked, that's incredibly watchable and very timely for the era of we're in, where Hollywood labor is on strike. And I think that people will appreciate the message of the movie, and certainly in the industry
And also
itself.
Matt and Ben's production studio.
Correct. All of those things line it up really well for a solid showing on Oscar nominations day. That said, until we see some of these other movies and see what falls out, I have movies here that I have predicted that I'm not sure will stay in the race, but I'm going to keep them in there. And I think Air is like right on the bubble of it could move back in or in, depending on how the rest of the season plays out. I don't think it's like automatically out, let's say.
Yeah, it's like very borderline in a lot of categories. Like I was really close to putting it into original screenplay.
Yes, and I could make a case for actor and supporting actress, which we'll obviously talk about as well. But yeah, so Air was a tough one for me. And now that was maybe my 11th, let's say. And now I'm going to do your picks for March, Joyce. Boy, really solid stuff. Great job, Joyce. Blitz, which is not coming out. The Color Purple, Dune Part 2, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, La Chimera. Chimera? What do you think it is?
Mira.
Chimera. Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, and Saltburn. So a lot that I added here, like holdovers and stuff. What do you got now, Joyce?
Now I have Anatomy of a Fall,
Uh-huh.
Barbie,
Okay.
The Color Purple,
Yep.
The Holdovers,
Mm-hmm.
Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Saltburn, and the zone of interest. I got rid of Dune.
Wow. So
Yeah.
I also thought I would say the zone of interest I have represented elsewhere, which I guess we'll do soon in the director category. I picked one of the Cannes movies. This is Anatomy of Fall won Palme d'Or, and Zone of Interest was basically runner up. Zone of Interest is A24, and Anatomy of Fall is Neon. Both are expected to be big critical faves. I just was like, Zone of
Not
Interest sounds
enough room for both.
well, not just not enough room for all. Zone of Interest sounds like a, let's say, a difficult material.
Yes. Yes.
So I was like, I think Anatomy of a Fall, which seems more, and I haven't seen either of these, so, but based on what I read, Anatomy of a Fall seems more like, if not a thriller, like a courtroom drama and a domestic drama, and like kind of like a lot of aspects of things that make it, even if it's long, I think it's over 2.5 hours, that make it like kind of like something that is an easier sell than the Zone of Interest, which is about the Holocaust, but told specifically from the point of view of Nazis living near Auschwitz. And shown in very static shots, it seems, and long takes of their domestic life while the horrors go on around them outside the frame, which sounds like a great movie, but I'm not sure it has enough broad Academy support to maybe make it in. But I would say it's definitely in that like Air, Zone of Interest were also on my thoughts, at least, but that's a good one.
Yeah, I think the people who will love it, I haven't seen either of them yet either. But I think the people who would love the Zone of Interest would really love it. So I think it could have that passion to get it in, but also it depends on how loose the bottom tier is too.
Right.
So,
exactly.
and then like Dune, I just dropped because I can see it just being like, like a sequel that does not perform as well as the first film. Like I think I'll still get a ton of crafts and stuff.
So I thought that I've been like on the cusp on that one too, and that was like the Zone of Interest Air one. Like I kept it in just because I was like, the first one was, I mean, it had 10 Oscar nominations, won 6 Oscars. I have no doubt that all the crafts will still be in major play. It just feels like an Avatar to me, where it's like, I don't know, even
But do you think like it
will
will be as big as Avatar?
I don't think box office wise it will be as big as Avatar, but I think industry wide it'll have as much respect as Avatar and just kind of get in. And people are going to be like, well, I really liked it the first time. The second movie arguably will have like maybe be slightly better because at least it has like a resolution, right? Like, so I kind of think that it would get in. I don't think it's like a guarantee. It feels like it could easily miss, like you're saying, especially if it's like, if it's at the bottom, you know what I mean? Like something like Zone of Interest maybe could get in with more passion if there's a small but strong minority of people who really like it. And Dune is like, everybody's like 8th or 9th, and then maybe it drops out. But I'm going to stick with Dune now just because of the overwhelming craft support I think it would get. And I think that would kind of push it in. But I don't think if it got snubbed, I wouldn't be shocked, I guess.
Yeah, like I don't think, having obviously not seen that either, like I don't really think it'll be like top 5.
No.
So, yeah, but it just, it depends on everything else around it and how strong they are.
And it could still move. Like the 2 movies that was like actually torn on 2 to predict, but I kept them in, were Dune because of the date, and Color Purple I feel like is definitely one that could easily shift because it's like a late December release and it definitely needs the support of its actors because the cast is, I think, its big selling point. So if there's like still a strike or they're not able to mount the right kind of campaign for it, I could see Warner Brothers maybe kicking that to 2024, but there's no real speculation about that. I'm just like wondering.
No, I mean, well, a couple weeks ago when the strike started, it was the actor strike, I think, and one of the producers said like that because I think there was a report in like the Times or something speculating that it could be moved, but one of the producers said like it's staying, but who knows? That was a month ago. I mean, Oprah is promoting it.
Yeah, and I mean, like that's what I think it will still get in, obviously, but I was like unsure if it's not there. Obviously, I think that opens the spot. The other movies I thought of, like I mentioned, Air and Zone of Interest, which you had, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I feel like people were really solid on for a while, including myself. I think when I first made my picks, when this prediction center opened in July, I had it in, but I don't have it in now. It feels like the enthusiasm for that kind of dulled.
Yeah, that was basically just for like a couple weeks in June after it
Yeah.
opened.
I also think it's not as good as the first one. So I think that hurts. And it's like half a movie.
Yeah, people are very mad about the ending, which didn't bother me, but
I thought the ending was like the one of the most interesting parts. I thought there's so much repetition in it that could have gone.
yeah. I mean, it's pretty to look at. So
Yeah, sure.
but yeah, it's been usurped by Barbenheimer, obviously.
Yes, definitely. I think Barbenheimer hurt a lot of these movies that were on the cusp. The other one I was wondering was Napoleon, Ridley Scott epic, that maybe he could get in on the back of its crafts, but like I'm not sure. Not like, again, haven't seen it, only going on like the trailer. Looked pretty cool, but it looked like something we've seen before a little bit. And this type of movie,
Like another Ridley epic, like historical epic that will not pan out.
right? I loved for it to pan. I'm hoping it pans out. That would be cool. Poor Things I had in and now I don't. I still think that could be a contender, but it looks pretty strange.
Yes, it was always going to be strange.
Yeah, I think The Favorite was a little more down the middle as a costume drama, even though it was very arch. This looks like a Amelie directed by I don't even know, Tim Burton. I don't know.
Well,
It just looks very weird.
I think it's good. Like we know that they've embraced Yorgos already.
Yes.
So
I'll give you another one that maybe is recency bias because it just came out with the first look and you're gonna laugh in my face. But I was also thinking of Naiad because I have that movie
because of those
represented.
pictures yesterday.
Well, I have that movie represented elsewhere, which I guess we'll do in a minute. And the fact that it's like an inspirational sports drama, basically, it just feels like something that people will have a root, like will be a good, like an audience kind of movie, right? Like that people are like gonna leave feeling like thrilled with. And I don't think it's out of the question that it could like generate enough momentum to get in to Best Picture as like kind of an underdog story drama that gets in.
Well, so Netflix has a lot of stuff, but
That's
I
the
think it
problem.
has a good Netflix spot because it's going to be on Netflix on November 3rd, right?
Right.
I think that's a good date for it.
I
Like
mean, I really think it could be like a dark horse Best Picture contender, especially if it's good. If it's not good, or if it's just like if people are walking out of that movie
if
when
it's
it
just an
premieres,
Annette vehicle.
if it's just in Annette vehicle, people are like, Annette Bening is great in it. If you start hearing that or seeing the tweets like, boy, Annette Bening, just iconic performance, then you're
Look
like,
at her
not
swim.
not Best Picture. But if it's like, oh man, I really like that, like, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's like an air, like kind of like an airtight movie where you're gonna leave it being like, yeah, like hell yeah, old school drama, Hollywood drama, doing the inspiration. I don't think it's off. It's not outrageous to expect it maybe getting a Best Picture nomination.
No, I think it would be like if yeah, I can see it being an audience like a general public hit,
Right.
and then that has like the broad, it's very saggy.
Yes, it's saggy. It's Toronto-y. So like it
Yeah.
could be an audience award
The
winner in Toronto.
people's winner.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, so that it feels like all of that, or at least a rank in the audience award, right? Like for Toronto, maybe like runner up or third runner up, and like maybe people start taking it more seriously. I don't have it in for Best Picture though, so I'm sticking with like the big dogs, as it were.
I don't either. What I mean, like I mean, I think we both listed these alphabetically,
Yes,
but what would you have winning?
Oppenheimer all the way for me.
Same.
I think Oppenheimer is gonna like. It would take for me right now on August 22nd. It would take a lot for me to think it won't win. I think it touches all the bases to me. It's a crowd pleaser somehow. It's a huge hit. It's filled with actors who are beloved from a director who's like at the right time to finally get recognized with the right material to finally get recognized. I don't know. It feels like both incredibly old school Hollywood and also modern because of the way it kind of like takes a critical eye on a lot of things about American politics. I just think it's like pretty set. I have that, and I have Barbie too. I think Barbie could be a very strong contender as well. So I have Barbenheimer 1 and 2 in my picks.
I don't have them 1 and 2, but I think Oppenheimer can win. I feel like it shouldn't be like looked at or pegged as like the front runner right now or like heading into the fall. Like I think that would be bad for it, and I think it's good for it right now that it still has Killers of the Flower Moon in front of it, because I think that's what a lot of people still have or are anticipating, once it opens in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I know, I agree. I think Oppenheimer has the cross appeal that you need to win on a preferential ballot as well.
Yes, it feels like a movie that everyone like. I honestly have not seen very many people be like, I didn't like it
In real life.
in real life. Yeah, I mean, I think like people are like Barbie. I think is it not just from conservative hacks. Like Barbie is slightly more polarizing, I think, than like Oppenheimer. They're both very well liked, but I think like Oppenheimer was like
Yeah, and I think, well,
good.
because I think you kind of just know what to expect from Barbie in a way, like generally, obviously you don't know like the plot details unless you've read the script, but like with Oppenheimer, yeah, like there is a version of that story where it's just a straightforward biopic, which would have been hella boring.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have not generated this reaction that it did, or make almost 800 million at the box office
Right.
with repeat viewings, and for a 3-hour talkie basically. But like the way it's structured is interesting, and like the way he ties everything together thematically is amazing, and just yeah, like the timeliness of it all. And I think like like the past like couple years, like we've had, or like the feeling is that like, oh, like the films that have been winning are like the underdogs of like that are feel good, and there's like a rooting factor. Obviously Oppenheimer is not an underdog, and it does not end on like an ostensible feel good note, but I don't think it ends on a downer either. I don't think it's like bleak or like remote, like let's say like Power of the Dog is, right?
It's
Like
not
it's like,
remote, but it is not positive at the end.
no, it's not positive. Like it's not feel good. Like
No.
I said, not feel good. But I think it's powerful. Like
Yes.
you leave that movie talking about the ending with people.
Yes. I also think so. I don't disagree. Obviously, you can't. It's hard to call Oppenheimer an underdog because it made almost $1 billion, and it's like Christopher Nolan movie. But I actually think being positioned with Barbie was like a great win for it because it is the underdog in that aspect,
Yeah,
right?
it's
Like
it's now the highest grossing film never to hit #1.
right. So it's like it's always going to be running second to Barbie, and the fact that the actors all did that mass amount of promo right before the strike and now have been like iced, obviously, I think helps keep it like even if it goes into the fall like close to being a front runner. I think it's like tied with the Killers of Flower Moon at the moment in our odds, or at least like very close behind or right a little ahead. Like the fact that it's been like not as it's just been being seen but not like being like shoved down your throat, I think helps because then like if the actors start if the machines start rattling up, December, January, February, that'll be better for it too, right? You know what I mean? Like it won't feel like, oh my God, we're
Yeah,
still talking about
it
this.
can't have like the target on its back right now. Yeah, I don't even know if people are even viewing it as the one to beat, because I think people are
No.
still viewing Killers of Flower
Yes.
Moon that way,
Yes.
regardless of what the odds say.
Yes. I think you're right.
So,
Any
but
other
I mean, like,
what?
I mean, like, I think like that sentiment might change once Killers of Flower Moon opens. We've seen it, Killers of
Yes.
Flower Moon.
A great movie to think about and talk about, but I don't think it's as successful as Oppenheimer.
I don't think people will be seeing it 5 times in the theater like they are with
No.
Oppenheimer.
No.
So,
Any other movies that you thought maybe were a Best Picture contender that we haven't discussed?
what else do I have here? Hold on. I uh speaking of like Napoleon and Ridley, Ferrari and Michael Mann.
So gets the big New York Film Festival bow. I'm not convinced that will make it in. I mean, Michael Mann arguably hasn't made a movie that people have liked in many years. I enjoy his movies. Like Black Hat, I liked all of his movies. I liked, but you have to go back pretty far to find a Michael Mann movie that was like widely embraced upon release. So I'm not gonna hold out.
Yeah, I don't
I'm not gonna
have
hold my
that
breath.
either. I maybe it could like sneak an actor, like I don't know about Adam Driver, but like maybe Penelope Cruz, I don't know. Who
Really
knows?
tough. I mean, here's Michael Mann's filmography of features. 2023 Ferrari, finally. I'm very excited. I love Michael Mann, so I'm psyched for this movie. 2015 Black Hat was a calamity. 2009 Public Enemies, not great, Bob.
That was
2000
your first
First
date
Date.
with your wife.
Yes. And it sucked. The date was good. The movie was shit. 2006 Miami Vice, which I love, but was not liked at the time, and obviously now has gotten like a second life online. 2004 Collateral. So you have to go back to 2004 basically to find a movie that was like a strong Oscar movie for him. So I'm not going to hold my breath for Ferrari.
How about Next Goal Wins? It's finally coming out.
Yeah. Also not going to hold my breath for that one. I'll give you one that we didn't mention. That another one I'm not actually sure if it's coming out is The Boys in the Boat, George Clooney's movie.
It
was
supposed to be like Christmas, right?
Yeah, I think it's still supposed to.
Yeah,
it's another inspirational drama.
I read the book like ages ago.
And like we learned when we talked about The Tender Bar. God, I love George Clooney, but his directing stuff is sometimes hit and miss, or at least like not widely embraced by the Academy, let's say.
Yeah, I mean, he just has good night and good luck.
Right. So I'm excited for Boys in the Boat, but I'm not ready to put it in there. I think that is definitely the type of movie though that if it has the right push and it's good, could get like move very quickly up the ranks once it's screened.
I mean, you know, I'm into it because it's Olympics, like
right. So let's move on to the directing category, Joyce. So in March, I had Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things, Steve McQueen for Blitz, swing and a miss, Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer, Marty for Killers of the Flower Moon, and Celine Song for the movie Past Lives, which at the time was a real exciting Sundance movie, now available on VOD.
Yeah, as of today.
So now in August, here are my picks. Greta Gerwig for Barbie, Jonathan Glazer for The Zone of Interest, Nolan and Scorsese, and then Justine Triet for Anatomy of a Fall. Triet? How do you say that one? Triet. So, Justine Triet for Anatomy of a Fall.
And
you, so
I'm shocked you're not wearing your Greta shirt.
Well, it's too hot. Wait until the fall.
You could turn on the AC.
People I thought of to put in here. Celine Song, who I dropped. I'm just like, this branch is always very insular. I think Greta actually is maybe on the in crowd, and the fact that Barbie was such a success and so much of her, the reason it's a success is because of her directing. I feel like she's in kind of almost. So I dropped her. Alexander Payne I thought of putting in, but I think the two Cannes successes will get in here. Certainly we've seen this branch go for like international flavor. And I just think like Nolan and Scorsese are going to take up all the white Gen X boomer male energy here. And so like Denis Villeneuve will not get in, and neither will Payne. And then I also thought maybe, and Bradley too would be in there as well. And then I thought maybe, who else? Let me see. Oh, Emerald Fennell, I thought, but I'm still not sure if Saltburn is going to be like that. Like, I like the idea of it. It seems like Succession-y, maybe, or like that kind of thing. So I'm like very excited for the movie. And she's obviously a past nominee, but I'm not sure if she would get in. I think it'd have to be like a really big deal for her to get in. So those are my 5. Greta, Jonathan Glazer, Nolan, Scorsese. Try it. Treat. Mm-hmm. Try it. Sure. So you, Joyce,
you're gonna just butcher that all season.
Never once get it right. You in March, Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer, Steve McQueen for Blitz, Alexander Payne for The Holdovers, Alicia Rohrwacher for La Chimera, and Martin Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon. So what do you got now?
Now I have Jonathan for The Zone of Interest.
Right.
Nolan. Alexander Payne.
Okay.
Scorsese. And Justine Triet.
Okay. So you have Payne and I have Barbie and Greta. Everything else is the same.
I thought about Greta instead of Jonathan.
Interesting.
And then I didn't do it.
So you think Payne is like pretty set?
Well, apparently I had him in March.
You did. So good for you.
I'm just gonna ride him as long as I can. Ride us out. So
Sure.
I can see Greta getting in just for like the success of Barbie.
Yeah.
Right? Like I don't think she would win if she got in.
No.
So
that she's already gone in once, I feel like puts her in the club, let's say.
Can have another Barbenheimer rematch with her.
And I really think that we're gonna want that also. I think people are voting them.
Like they both lost last time.
Right.
GG.
Yeah, everything else. So Payne, I mean, I thought Payne, like I said, I just think there's not gonna go with him. I think, but we'll see. I don't know. The trailer looked fine, looked good. He's obviously had success as a director previously, so it makes sense, but I'm not sure. Nothing else. Everyone else feels like pretty set here. I don't know.
I wouldn't say it's like set. I mean, neither of us have Bradley.
No.
Didn't get in last time.
So for Bradley and for Denny, that they didn't get in last time is why I don't have him in this time, basically. And I think that having Nolan and Scorsese there hurts Bradley and Denny.
Marty, who's also a producer on Maestro.
Correct.
Yes.
I'm very excited for Maestro. I think it's going to be good. I'm very excited to see Bradley Cooper, and Star is Born ruled. So I'm always in for Bradley. I'm not sure if he could get in with the way the lineup is shaken out. I don't think so. I dropped Celine's Song because I just think they're going to go with the international picks over the Past Lives Sundance kind of fave.
Yeah, it's like Past Lives is just a quieter film, like very successful, obviously, at the box office this summer. I think she'll get into screenplay.
Me probably. Too. I thought screenplay was where she'll show up, but not directing, especially not with like Justine and Jonathan Glazer. I feel like is just so I have it in for director, not picture. It just feels like something the branch would definitely do.
Like the lone nomination, like Bennett Miller.
Yes, or like David Lynch. We were doing what year was that for Mulholland Drive? Wasn't he nominated for Mulholland Drive? Yes. I just feel like this is like a great director nomination incoming, but maybe not picture.
Yeah, I went with him over Greta just because of how idiosyncratic the directors can be that branch. So, but I can see like if Greta like picks up steam, during the season, I guess they're getting in. So who do you have winning?
I have Nolan winning.
Same.
Just feels like a ascendant. I don't think so. I have Nolan, Greta, Marty, Justine, and Jonathan.
You're just gonna have Barbenheimer.
But I was like, I don't think Marty's gonna win for Killers of the Flower Moon. I don't think it's the type of movie he would necessarily win for. And I don't think, even though I think if it ends up being like this is not if it ends up being like his last major movie, I think there's a lot of it's very like it's a movie I'll definitely think about a ton, and it feels like it'll have a long life outside of award season, but I'm not sure it's the type of movie that he would win for now.
I think people want him to win.
I think they do, but I just think that Nolan and Oppenheimer is going to be too tough.
Yeah, like I think they're such different films, so it's really hard to compare them. And yeah, Killers of the Flower Moon is such it's a great Marty flick because like there are elements of like a lot of his old stuff.
Yes, it feels
too,
it does feel like that. And I think if you view it as like whether or not it's like kind of like Fableman's, it's not like Fableman's at all, but you know what I mean? Like remember how
it's not his childhood.
No, but remember how like Fableman's was like, oh man, if that like Scorsese Spielberg had to be like, I'm not retiring, even though it felt like the summation of everything.
Yeah, it's like I'm just gonna put all my like greatest hits in here, basically.
I think that's what Killers of the Flower Moon is, and not just in style, but I think in themes, and a lot of the themes that Scorsese has kind of like done movies about again and again are very apparent here. And those themes, plus with the vantage point of being much older, and like obviously someone who is like even just now, like before like Robbie Robertson died, and like one of Martin Scorsese's best friends, and he talked about how sad it is like when people that close to you just are not there anymore. So I think like he's got like a great viewpoint of the movie, but I just don't think it's going to be like enough to beat Nolan for Oppenheimer.
Yeah, I think like Oppenheimer is more like of an obvious technical achievement too.
Yes.
Not that Killers is not, but um and I do like the ending of Killers a lot. It's a big swing.
Love the ending, and I think it's like something people will really be talking about a lot.
Yes. It's already been spoiled in one of the reviews out
Yes.
of Cannes, and
Yes.
people got very mad about that.
Yeah, both those reviews that were spoiled have like now spoiler warnings on top. It's really funny. I went back and looked at them.
Um
I also
yeah.
think if Nolan doesn't win, he'll never win. This is like then he'll never get another. Then he'll just be he's the guy who's not going to win, and he get like an honorary Oscar at some point. Because if he can't win for Oppenheimer, it's hard to imagine him winning for anything.
Yeah, I think it just ultimately depends on like which film like they feel more passionately about.
Right.
Like in the end, like is it Oppenheimer or Killers of the Flower Moon? Like
Right.
I can see Killers being more the respected but not loved film.
Exactly. This is
So, and I think also like we've seen in the past decade in this category, like they've been giving wins to mostly to people who've never won before.
yes.
Like obviously you have Iñárritu and Cuarón winning again, but
Del
like
Toro,
the Daniels,
the
like
Daniels, Jane
yeah,
Campion. I mean, I think Nolan is more like Del Toro or Jane Campion.
yes, obviously, like he's a veteran, but yeah, it's um, like they're not afraid to go to someone who has not won over a legend who maybe should have another Oscar.
Right.
So
This category felt like less. I mean, like in our odd Celine song and Denis Villeneuve are both in, but I have them both out, and I think they're, we just said like why we think they're going to kind of both be out. I don't think Bradley obviously is a top choice. The only person we haven't really mentioned on the odds is Blitz Bazawule for Color Purple, but I'm waiting to see how that movie is before considering him more seriously.
yeah, because I can see the film getting in without him.
Yeah, just seems like an kind of thing that would like a newcomer relatively compared to like the people they're competing against makes it hard to get in.
How about Fincher for The Killer?
So I would love to see it. I think he could also get in as like a lone directing nominee for not having Best Picture. The movie sounds awesome, and it seems like Michael Fassbender could be like really good. That's when I'm waiting to see the reviews out of Venice for, basically, to see what people start saying before wondering how it'll play.
Yeah,
It's
I mean
definitely in
the date is
November.
not bad either because it's on Netflix on November 10th, right?
Right.
I think like a November date is good.
Always. Would love
So
to see it. I think he's like a dark horse. Like I said, I think Emerald Fennell could be really, if the movie is like great, I think she would easily be under more in consideration. So
how about our guy Ben?
no. Even with Ayer getting in for picture, I don't think Ben would get in. But I do think he did a great job directing it, but I don't think it's like a directing achievement that gets recognized.
Ian Bradley are in the same boat.
Yeah. Other people I thought of, but I don't think it depends on the movies, but like Jeff Nichols back with Bike Riders. I think if that movie is like great, he could probably more in consideration. Ridley we talked about, but I'm like, who knows? I guess
Um,
that's about it. I don't know who else.
I mean, well, we haven't mentioned May December because neither of us have it in Best Picture, but Todd Haynes. But I don't think so because they don't seem to be into Todd Haynes.
No, and I have it actually represented pretty well later here, but I don't think picture or director are in the cards for it.
How about Sofia Coppola for
I thought of
Priscilla?
her too, and I think Priscilla could maybe be a contender, but knowing how Sophia Coppola makes movies, no, I would say no. But it's like it's not going to be like flashy Elvis biopic, right? So it's going to be like more mannered and like stately, and I don't know if that like always flies, but I mean, it would be nice to have her in there, but I don't know. I think she's like on the second tier probably. Not many other people like
Well, there's a I don't think he would get in, but Miyazaki,
Yeah.
no. That would be cool, but I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. Yeah. Let's move on, Joyce. Next up is Best Actor. What a treat. In March, I had Bradley Cooper for Maestro and Leonardo DiCaprio for Killers of the Flower Moon. Then I had Coleman Domingo for Rustin, Ed Harris for Long Day's Journey into Night, which is not out this year, so cross him off. And Jonathan Majors for Magazine Dreams.
Oh, good job.
So now I've got Bradley and Leo still. I've got Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers, Barry Keoghan for Saltburn, and Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer. You had a lot of these people already in March. This feels like a pretty not easy category, but like there's like 5 pretty obvious people plus Coleman Domingo for Rustin. The reason I didn't put him in is because I don't have Rustin in the Best Picture race, and I have these other 5 movies all nominated for Best Picture. But I think Coleman Domingo is probably 6th or 5th, depending on what you're looking at. Anyway, your picks. In March, you had Bradley and Leo, Paul Giamatti, Barry Keoghan, and Jonathan Majors. So I assume you have those 4 again, plus a new person.
I do. I made very few changes.
Yeah.
I
just
one
guess which
major
person.
change. No pun intended.
Yeah.
So I have Bradley,
Yeah.
Leo, Paul, Barry, and Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer.
So we have the exact same 5.
I mean, I've had this 5 probably since July.
Sure.
Yeah. So I haven't really changed it.
So Barry, we both have like Afterglow nomination, big leap up to the lead category. Seems to make sense. Right? I mean,
yeah.
Why would he not get in? Coleman is, I think, the people's choice and beloved actor who maybe is ready to make good. I think we both have him represented in another category, so he'll still be an Oscar nominee this year in theory, or next year, as it were.
I think people want him to be nominated, and this is another one that was delayed from last year. Like people were predicting him last year too for Boston. And it was pushed to this year. So I thought about him, but I didn't put him in March. So I was like, I'm just gonna keep him out still.
I took him out for Barry, basically. Nothing. I mean, like, this is another category. Like we've seen last year, Best Actor was a little loose because we were predicting Tom Cruise to get in. So this year also feels a little loose.
So I mean, I don't think it's loose. There's just kind of like it's like top heavy, I guess. And then we're just kind of like banking on like Barry and Paul to make good.
So like I'm not convinced in a stronger year Leo would get in. I feel like Leo would be like the Viola Davis here, a lot of 4-5s. I don't think there's going to be a ton of passion for him with the number 1 votes. That said, I have a really tough time finding literally anybody else who could knock him off. So I have him in, but I've toyed with taking him out many times.
His performance is interesting because I like him a lot in the film, and it is kind of a different mode for him because he has to like basically juggle 2 sides, like with De Niro and Lily Gladstone. He's like caught in the middle. His best scenes are when he's ordering around like petty criminals.
Really fun. It's great. I love watching Leo
be funny.
Well, I love watching Leo be funny, obviously, because he's really good at it. And I love watching him like kind of be a weasel. But I've been thinking about the movie. I was like, he's kind of got like I guess it's a mix of the 2 Departed parts, right? Like it's a mix of Damon and Leo in Departed, like because Leo's got to play like kind of double.
He has to be like a little obsequious.
But I actually think I was almost wondering, would it be a better movie if Damon was in that part instead of Leo?
And what, like Leo would be an heir?
Well, I don't know. I
don't know. Like, I mean, I think like I mean, I remember when like the reviews came out in May after the Cannes premiere, but he got great reviews and a lot of people were like, oh, this could be number 2 for him. I don't think so. Like, I don't have a problem if he were to win this. as his second Oscar.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't know if it's like undeniable, so to speak.
The IndieWire headline that was like greatest for career performance of his career. I have notes for David Ehrlich on that one. I think he's wrong.
I mean, like Departed, Wolf of Wall Street,
and many other movies.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So
actually, if you can, I can think of like 5 or 6 movies off the top of my head that he was better in.
Yeah, like he's really good, and I like him, and I think he will get in, and but then like in March, I just did not predict any Oppenheimer actor at all, because we know how Nolan has struggled to get his actors in outside of Heath, obviously. And this could have been like another Dunkirk situation. It is not another Dunkirk situation.
I have Cillian Murphy winning.
Yeah, I have Cillian in first. So and it's such a great performance, and it's not like, again, like I think if it were another like road biopic, he would have like super baity scenes and be actually explosive, like, you know, no pun intended. But it's such like a dialed in and modulated performance that he doesn't need those actual like yelling scenes for you to feel like the turmoil inside. And like the gymnasium scene is just top tier.
I would say like, if X was Y, then it would be Y, whatever. Like, I mean, I understand what I'm saying is stupid, but if this was like Daniel Day-Lewis, we wouldn't even, it would be a category we would literally never think about again, because it would just be like, of course he's going to win. And I think Cillian Murphy is like as good as Daniel Day-Lewis in the best Daniel Day-Lewis performances, like Lincoln and There Will Be Blood in this movie. So I think like he should be very much at the front of this race. And I think the only reason he's not is because he's an actor who we haven't thought of like that previously.
Well, he's never been nominated, and you know, I mean, he's been around for decades, obviously. Right. So, and this is his 6th film with Nolan, but his first lead.
Yeah.
Too. And then like, you know, he's been on Peaky Blinders for a decade too, and like people are just discovering that meme that they've been using for years is him. So
he's definitely not a breakout.
He's been like, Cillian's been famous, like lowercase f, famous for 20 years.
Yes.
But now he's like big time famous.
I mean, I think this is like a humongous performance. And I think like we're saying, so my other 5, like Leo, I think is a good nominee. I think he could be in danger of getting knocked out, because I don't think he's going to be like number 1 vote getter. But like we saw last year in this race, it wasn't like a lot of passion for anybody else. I think Coleman Domingo could get in, certainly, like we're saying, but not convinced based on the strength of the movie. Barry, I feel like, is an easy one. And then to win, I mean, I was like Cillian or Paul, I guess, for holdovers. But I think if Oppenheimer is going to steamroll to Best Picture, and it would be hard to deny Murphy in then. But I think Paul is like a good bet to really compete. He's 5th in the odds somehow, but having never won, I feel like there'll be a lot of like, how has Paul Giamatti never won an Oscar?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, you know, like we haven't seen it, so like who knows. But I think we're just kind of just banking on it being like him being Paul Giamatti, and like that the movie is a different bent, like, you know, it's more comedic than a lot of these other films. So, and I think he feels like someone who, well, he was snubbed for Sideways, and then they gave him a makeup nomination for Cinderella Man. That's still to this day his only nomination. I don't know if he'll go all the way. Obviously, we haven't seen the film, but he, and I don't know if he's like that type of like A-list star who would get the career narrative either. You know, I think you need a lot of support.
Right.
Especially if like the film is not like top 3.
Certainly.
You know, so, and then like of my 5, the only films I've seen, Oppenheimer and Killers. So, and of those 2, I have Cillian winning. So, and I think I mean, I've said this to multiple people, but I think I said it to you like after we saw Oppenheimer. I was like, that performance, Cillian's, like, it reminds me of Casey Affleck's in Manchester by the Sea.
Yeah.
Like it's you know, it's emotional, but it's not loud, right? But it still makes you feel bone deep, like what the character is feeling.
Absolutely.
Know?
It's a great piece of work. And yeah, we'll see. I mean, like I had nobody else really. I mean, the only one I was toying with was like Coleman for Leo, but I don't want to drop Leo. So,
Well, I mean, there's Joaquin for Napoleon.
so I think if like Napoleon ends up like, I'm basically out on Napoleon here, right? But I think it's on the cusp. It could be like picture, director, actor very easily. Just depends on how it is. But right now, I'm going to say no based on past Ridley performances with the Academy in recent history.
How about Kingsley Benadire for Bob Marley?
Gonna say no to that one. Not super impressive.
It's coming out late. It's going wide in January.
Yeah.
And I feel like that, it could be like another I Want to Dance with Somebody.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. Anybody else here? For you mentioned Adam.
There's Teo Yu for Past Lives, but I don't, he's like second tier for me.
Yeah. I think you'd have a better shot of Fassbender, or probably Fassbender over Adam Driver, but one of those guys kind of making a comeback here, breaking in. Depends on the movie. And then the one person I actually really wanted to put in, but I haven't represented elsewhere, spoiler alert, Matt Damon for Air. But I think the type of performance in Air, it's so good that I think it'll help him, similar to Coleman, get in supporting. And I guess we'll talk about that in a minute. But I thought Damon in Air
he should get double noms.
He was great in Air. And I think he won't be nominated for Air, but he could be. I feel like people will be into Freud's Last Session with Anthony Hopkins. You never take you can't count Anthony Hopkins out.
He could win number 3. So
Paul Mescal for Foe.
Mm-hmm.
Got that flashy Vanity Fair first look, David Campfield treatment, but not sure we need to go back to him right away. And he's got Strangers Among Us, All of Us Strangers, excuse me. So that one he's more supporting in, but who knows?
How about Koji Yakusho for Perfect Days?
I didn't really think of that one, to be perfectly honest. I had 2 other ones I thought of, though. Well, Jeffrey Wright for American Fiction. I think American Fiction, I haven't actually represented elsewhere. I think that could be like a thing. And I think Jeffrey Wright is like a beloved actor. And if the movie is good, we're going to be like, oh, wow, of course Jeffrey Wright should get in. And I also thought of, depends on the movie, but like Leave the World Behind has Ethan Hawke and Mahershala Ali. It seems like not one that Netflix is considering as like an awards player, maybe more as an audience player, but those are legitimate force actors. So I could see if it's really good, maybe one of them getting like a little push.
How about Zac Efron in The Iron Claw? Very sad story.
Yeah, maybe that could be. I feel like that's going to be a movie people really love, but not a movie that Oscar embrace. Yeah.
So
next up, Joyce, Best Actress. Well, I made a lot of changes here from March, I'll just say. In March, I had Annette Bening for Naiad, Lily Gladstone for Killers of the Flower Moon, Jessica Lange for Long Day's Journey into Night, Greta Lee for Past Lives, and Kate Winslet for the movie Lee. Now I only have one of those 4 remaining.
Your future Best Picture nominee, Naiad.
I have Annette Bening.
Annette
Bening still in. I do think she'll get in. I really do. I have Sandra Huller for Anatomy of a Fall. I have Carey Mulligan for Maestro. I have Natalie Portman for May December and Margot Robbie for Barbie. And I was on the cusp of putting in many other actresses, including Fantasia, who is number 1 on our odds for The Color Purple, including Emma Stone for Poor Things, including Vanessa Kirby for Napoleon. But that's what I ended up with. So I have those 5. And you had, in March, Fantasia, Greta Lee, Carey Mulligan, Saoirse Ronan for Blitz, and Kate Winslet for Lee. So what do you got now, Joyce?
Now I have Fantasia.
Okay.
Annette.
Uh-huh.
Sandra.
Okay.
Carey.
Uh-huh.
And Margot.
Oh, so we actually have the same 4 of the same 5. Look at that. I'm actually surprised.
Well, so Lee still doesn't have a US distributor.
Yes. That's why I don't have it in.
I mean, it might get one in like 3 weeks. So
yeah, I could at a TIFF, and then all of a sudden we put her in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I kept Fantasia out at the time I was like, I know it's a part that gets just magnet for awards, but like I was saying, I'm not sure Color Purple is going to have enough runway. It feels like there are flashier roles in the show, certainly, or maybe that Academy members would want. And I just am like, I'm not sure if she'll get in. And I didn't want to take out Natalie Portman, basically, because I think she's got like a compelling narrative too. And maybe she gets in. But I guess Fantasia I'd have like in 6th, and I could see moving in. I'm surprised you have Margot Robbie, and I'm actually happy because I had her in. I just feel like if you're, I'm
But
like,
you feel validated because I have her.
well, I do a little, but my take was like, if the movie is, if you like the movie, you have to like, she's actually quite good in it, and I understand like Ryan Gosling steals the movie, but I do think like it doesn't work if she's not great, and so I kind of think she'll get in. Yeah, I don't know. That was my take.
Yeah, I put Margot in because I feel like she is great in movie, and yeah, like she does have, she provides the, like you were saying, the emotional backbone to it. Like all her scenes with Rhea Perlman.
Yeah.
And like I think she will win the Comedy Globe easily.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, and I could see her like, you know, hitting SAG, like super populist.
It feels like she'll hit all the precursors and then maybe get in.
I know, or she could be snubbed.
She could be snubbed, but I feel like like people were predicting her last year from Babylon, which she was great in. But like this is a way more easy movie to digest, obviously.
And so then my other thing is like, how many Netflix ladies will I have? So I have 2.
So I had 3.
And Carrie.
Yeah. So I have 3. I think Natalie could get in because I think that the movie is the act, like that feels like the thing that people took away from the Cannes debut. And while it might be tough for them to juggle all 3, plus they have, I guess, more maybe. Do they have another one? Am I missing anyone, or is it just those 3 really for them?
I mean, they have a ton of,
so many movies.
I mean, like, are you thinking about like Pain Hustlers, like Emily Blunt?
Yeah, I mean, I guess Emily for Pain Hustlers, or like Phoebe, what's her face?
Jennifer for Fair Play.
My thinking was actually all 3 are different enough that they could all get in. Like they're actually not competing for the same kind of support, right? Like Annette is like the veteran, never won, playing a historic, a real person, and like a physically demanding role. Like all these boxes checked. It feels like very easy.
Carrie's also playing a real person.
Carrie's playing a real person, but like a different kind of real person, and maybe like not as physically demanding, but also like more traditional biopic-y than maybe even Nyad. And then May December is like, you know, kind of like melodrama, funny kind of arch Todd Haynes thing that like Natalie just,
yeah, and it's about actors, and I haven't seen it, but like she gives a monologue
right
in the film. It'll be funny if she and Annette do get in, because it'll be a rematch.
So right now I have Carrie winning, but I'm not sure that's right. And I don't
know who's winning this. Like I can honestly see Annette winning.
So I thought Annette, the person I have in second place though is Sandra Huller for Anatomy of Fall, and thinking more of like, she's got Zone of Interest as well, but I think like Anatomy of Fall is like the movie that people will focus on for her performance, and it just maybe feels like a Marion Cotillard type thing where it's like the international actress who is in a movie. It's not a biopic, but like there's not a real strong front runner among the others. I mean, Annette could easily win. It's like a Lifetime Achievement Award basically, and maybe she's great in the movie, but we've seen they're not super sentimental. So unless she actually is great in the movie, I don't think she would just win because it's her time. But I put Carrie in first because I think Maestro is going to be a pretty strong Best Picture contender, and I have high hopes that maybe it is Carrie's time, I guess. Kind of like, I don't know.
So you have Carrie winning for Maestro, yes, and Bradley not winning anything for Maestro.
Correct.
It'll be like A Star Is Born again, because
yes,
Gaga won something.
Correct.
For A Star Is Born.
Yeah.
He didn't. So yeah, I don't know who's winning this, because I just kept Fantasia in first. Just like I have to move on.
So in our odds, Fantasia and Greta Lee are 1-2. I have neither one of them getting nominated, and maybe that'll be stupid, but I don't know.
I went off of Greta. I just felt like that it is like a very quiet performance. And so I can see it just kind of like getting lost later on in the season if there's not enough support for it.
It feels like the type of movie that needs a big fall re-push. And without being able to do so because of the strikes, it maybe is going to get that push too late because we're going to have a lot of these other movies premiering and people getting excited about these other performances. And they're not going to be top of mind on past lives when they're ready to start doing like the Vanity Fair, like Greta Lee interview and all these different things. So that's why I took her out.
Yeah, I mean, I had her in like 5th anyway.
Yeah.
And then
It
because I didn't think she was winning, even if she got in. So
if I was going to take anybody out to put Fantasia in, I would take out Portman, but I'm not sure that I will do that until I see both of these movies. So, or at least May, December. I think we'll have a better idea as it screens more widely. Emma Stone for Poor Things.
I had her for a couple weeks and then I just got rid of her.
How about Kaylee Spaney for Priscilla?
Maybe. I don't know.
Could be, right?
How about Vanessa Kirby? Is she even lead in this Napoleon?
I get the sense she is, and I think people really like her and want her to get nominated, but not sure. Depends on the movie. Like I said, like I could add it to the list of potential Napoleon nominations I don't have it getting. Saoirse Ronan for Foe.
No, but 5 months ago, I had her for Blitz. So
I will say the first look at that made it sound like that's the Saoirse show. Very dramatic stuff, but I get the feeling the movie is a little slow and small. Haven't seen it. Haven't seen many of these, like we said. Yeah, not bad. I mean, pretty solid category. And I don't really know who's the front runner, even though it's Fantasia in our odds. But I'm not sure that if you start asking people
I think
now,
that's also because, like enough people predicted her at first. So then she was in first. And then when future people were doing it, it's just like, I mean, that's kind of what I did. I'm like, I can't spend too much time on this.
right.
I have to move on.
Best supporting actor, Joyce. Completely different list for me. Yeah, it's totally different. I went off all 5 of the people I had in March. In March, I had Ben Affleck for the movie Air, Harris Dickinson for Blitz, Ben Foster for Long Day's Journey into Night, Corey Hawkins for The Color Purple, and Jesse Plemons for Killers of the Flower Moon. Swing and a miss. So now I've got Matt Damon for Oppenheimer, Robert De Niro for Killers of the Flower Moon, Coleman Domingo for The Color Purple, Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer, and Ryan Gosling for Barbie. Love these. This is my favorite category because I love all these performances. Haven't seen Color Purple, obviously. And then in March, you had Willem Dafoe for Poor Things, De Niro for Flower Moon, Coleman Domingo for Color Purple, Jesse Plemons for Killers Flower Moon, and Michael Shannon for The Bike Riders. Respect the game.
Oh, wow.
I don't think you have him now. So what do you got now?
I do not. I have Dafoe.
Well,
De Niro.
still. Okay.
Yes. I have a lot of D's here, just warning you. Defoe, De Niro, Domingo, Downey, and then Gosling. So 4 D's and 1 G.
So we have 4 of the same 5. Not bad. You kept Defoe. The only one you really changed, or you added Gosling,
and I dropped Jesse.
Downey.
Yeah, and Downey, and I dropped Jesse.
So
I thought about doing double Oppenheimer. I think so like Jesse is not getting in for
having seen the movie. No offense to Jesse Plemons, he's not really in it very much.
Yeah. He's good in it. Does his job.
Very.
He has a very funny line that I laughed at, but he comes in very late and then he's the FBI guy, and like that's basically it.
Yeah.
So I think if you're gonna do or predict double noms here for a film, you should lean Oppenheimer. So I did think about Matt, which would still give me another D, because I would just replace Defoe with him. I didn't do it yet because I was also like taking an overview of all my picks, and I felt like I didn't have a lot of variety in the films of my acting nominees, because
Sure.
I have a lot of films getting multiple nominations.
Right.
So I was like, I will just not do Matt right now and have one fewer Oppenheimer acting nomination and do Willem Dafoe for Poor Things.
Sure. My take for Matt, I kind of mentioned this before. He's so great in Air, and similar to Coleman Domingo, I think having the two performances will help get the one supporting nomination. And I kind of think even people who are lukewarm on Oppenheimer are like, man, I love it. Once Matt Damon shows up, it rules. And him coming in there and just stomping through, being like, no fucks at all. It's just a great.
It's also a meme now, so
yeah, it's a great performance and totally like an energy that nobody else in the movie brings. And so I think that coupled with Air, coupled with Matt in his like kind of character actor, middle-aged dude kind of level now is like would probably get in, and especially if the movie is as big. De Niro,
like, I would have Matt in there if it's like clear that he's going to be the coattail.
Yeah, it just feels like it's so fun. He's like such a fun performance.
I also think he obviously enters like for the second act for the Los Alamos scenes, and I think that's when many people like fully engage into the movie. Like I know some people have not trouble, but like they're not as engaged in the first act because it's just kind of like the origin story of Oppenheimer, right?
Yes.
And then maybe if they were not expecting a non-linear timeline, but again, you're going to a Christopher Nolan movie, I don't know why you're expecting a linear story. So, but if they're like, if it takes them a little time to settle into that format in the beginning, like I think once they see like Matt Damon come in as Groves, it's like, okay, now we're gonna build the bomb.
Yep. Totally agree. That's why I have him in. I just think it's like wonderful. And before we saw Oppenheimer, I was like, De Niro, man, could win. And now I think De Niro's in third because I think it really is going to come down to Robert Downey Jr. and Ryan Gosling. And I have Downey winning because it just feels like so obvious that he would win for this and get his first Oscar.
So also, I mean, I didn't have any Oppenheimer actors back in March at all. But like if I were to do one back then, I would have done Matt and not RDJ back then, just knowing who each of them were playing, because like I knew that like Louis Strauss was the guy who took down Oppenheimer, and like he, like chronologically in history would come in at the end, like he's not actually part of the building of the atomic bomb like Groves is, or like he's not part, he's overseeing everything. So but obviously I didn't know how Nolan was structuring the story, so like the way that structure with like the dual perspectives and the dual timelines, like he is like Strauss is the secondary character, like the second largest character there, like with his own perspective basically, and then you just see how their lives converge and how they destroyed each other too, and like that, and like the way, because the story is not linear like that, like he is throughout the film, like he's not just coming in at the end there for a couple minutes like Jesse Plemons is in Killers of the Flower Moon, and he actually has his own arc and storyline, and then the heel turn if you're not aware of history at the end, so. And yeah, I think he has like a lot of the right ingredients to win, like veteran, beloved, if he's able to campaign, like just totally lovable, charming, charismatic, he'll give great speeches.
It
and
feels right.
Yeah, and it like, and this is like, I think we talked about this, I don't know, in like one of the Oscars playbacks, I think, like, he's done with Marvel, so he's like quote unquote acting again. Yes. And I feel like a lot of people are happy about that too,
because his comeback really dovetailed with Marvel. And so like he was great in, like we talked about, like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and like Zodiac, and then he comes back with like Iron Man and Tropic Thunder in the same year, gets the Tropic Thunder like goof nomination, but then is like not really heard from again because he's making Marvel movies. And it felt like we were ready.
He did The Judge.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. Here Comes the Judge. But again, not really seriously considered in like an awards movie since like maybe Zodiac and Tropic Thunder, basically, right? Like, I mean, like, so like it feels like they were ready to give him an Oscar one of those early years, and then never did because the stuff was more populist. But now back in, I don't know. It feels like a slam dunk to me. That said, I could easily make the case for Ryan Gosling winning. I think he's like clearly the best part of Barbie, and it's an amazing performance through and through. But I just feel like it is more like the Robert Downey and Tropic Thunder nomination, and Downey is more like the Heath Ledger and Dark Knight nomination, and off we go. But
I think Ryan would have a harder time winning because it is an entirely comedic performance.
Correct.
Like he's amazing in it.
One of
his version of Push will for sure be on my Spotify Wrapped at the end of the year. So I'm not sure about I'm Just Ken. That's good, but I prefer Push. So.
Push is great. I do love I'm Just Ken. Future Best Original Song nomination, hopefully.
I would rather that win than the Billy song, but
man, it's just it's one of the great, I honestly think it's one of the great comedic performances of all time. I think he's so funny. Literally,
what do you think? Do you think he'll be lead at the Globes?
Yes.
And definitely. Win that?
And win, probably.
I can also see him like hitting everything and then like missing the nomination at the end.
I would just frankly be shocked if he missed. I think he'll hit everything and get in.
But yeah, I don't think, I mean, it would be awesome if he were to win, but I don't think he's winning. And then like De Niro, I love De Niro in Killers of the Flower Moon.
One of his best performances in decades, multiple decades.
He is so funny.
He's perfect in it, and I actually think he's got like the best lines, and he's got like it's an absolutely amazing De Niro performance. I think in any other year I could make the case for him to win, but against Downey and Gosling, he's only in third. But I think if it was like another year, he could easily win.
I also don't know, because I think again, like similar to Marty, like a lot of people want him to win again, right? Want him to win a third, but I don't know if that sentiment is like among the industry or like Academy members. It's like we already know he's won Oscars, and I think they also know that RDJ has not won one,
right?
You know, and it's like I don't like, as much as I love De Niro in this film, I don't think it's like another undeniable performance either.
No, it doesn't. It's not, but it is his best. It's definitely his best performance in like a very long time. Like I said, like I'd say,
like I think it's better than Irishman and Silver Linings.
Yeah, it actually combines the stuff he does well incredibly well. So he's so fun. I think it's actually like very funny, because you forget that De Niro is like really funny maybe sometimes, and like not in like a corny way, and he's so sinister, and he's got like the Irishman like kind of bit plus the Silver Lining kind of bits mixed together, maybe.
Yeah, like and then because of, you know, his interactions with certain people, like he has to, like in certain scenes, like, you know, he's so sinister and threatening, and it's like venomous, right?
Yes.
And then like others, it's like completely sweet. Like he gets to do a lot in the role, and then his interactions with Leo are great.
Wonderful. It's a wonderful performance. I have no negative things to say about De Niro and Flower Moon. He is so good.
I'm just not sure if there is like an urge to give him a third one. Right. It'll also be his second in supporting. He would have one in lead and two in supporting too. And then it kind of reminds me of like the Irishman year or two, because, you know, he was like getting snubbed in places, and then people are also like, oh, it's fine, like he'll still get in, and like he never got in.
Well, that's why I think he'll get in, but I don't think he'll
like I think he'll get in, but yeah, I'm not sure about the win. And again, I think like Oppenheimer is like the more like broad appealing film. Like I do think when you watch Killers of the Flower Moon, like you will come away really liking De Niro's performance.
Definitely, it's great.
So like I can see it coming down to the Bobs.
Yeah. And
Jamie Lee Curtis will slowly read Robert De.
That's awesome. In our odds, John McGarrow for Past Lives is in fourth. I thought of him, but I'm out on the movie a little bit, so I just think it's a little too small, but I think a lot of critics groups will go for him.
Yeah.
Samuel Jackson is in sixth for The Piano Lesson. No proof that's coming out this year at all. So I would temper my expectations. Charles Melton is the person I thought of seriously for May, December. But I think in this particular year, it's going to be hard for a newcomer to break in when you've got, I mean, my five are Downey, Gosling, De Niro, Colman Domingo, and Matt Damon. It's like Charles Melton going to knock out one of those guys? Coleman is a newcomer, I guess, but not for maybe an awards nomination, but he's like very beloved actor who's worked for a long time with everybody.
He's an Emmy winner.
He's going to lose. Anybody else here? How about Dominic Sessa for Holdovers?
I thought about him, and I feel like he's like a case of a co-lead going supporting because he's like the kid.
Yes. And then how about Tom Hardy or our boy Shannon for Bike Riders?
Well, obviously I dropped Shannon.
I think both of them would warrant consideration if the movie's great.
Yeah, I mean, I like Jeff's stuff, so I think I'll love the movie.
Jacob Elordi for Saltburn?
I didn't really think about him, but how about Glenn Howerton for Blackberry? I feel like he'll get a lot of like critics notices.
Yes, people are very high on him. I still haven't seen that movie. Sorry. How about Jeremy Allen White for The Iron Claw? JW's got a bunch of movies this fall, Fingernails as well.
Yeah. So you think he'll get awards this winter for seasons 1 and 2 of The Bear, and then an Oscar nomination for The Iron Claw?
I don't, but he could. One person I really want to put in that I can't, Chris Messina for Air. Just got to mention one of the great fuck you performances of all time.
So there's a lot of like great supporting performances in Air and Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
But you could fill out this whole category with Oppenheimer dudes.
You sure could. Benny Safdie.
Yeah, Benny was great. I love
Casey.
Casey's
is great.
Like he's just, oh my God, like so sinister.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Jason Clarke.
Clarke is great.
Yeah.
Clarke also great on my favorite show that no one's watching, Winning Time. Absolutely killing it.
I still haven't started season 2 yet. I know. Sorry to Jeff.
Jeff Probman has rightly said the show's in danger of cancellation. Please watch it. And I am doing my part and talking about it.
You're watching it live too.
I am. It's a great show. This is a fun category. Like I said, I made a difference on all 5. Supporting actress, Joyce, I only switched 3. So go me, I guess. In March, I had Emily Blunt for Oppenheimer, Danielle Brooks for The Color Purple, Viola Davis for Air, Taraji P. Henson for The Color Purple, and Saoirse Ronan for Blitz, R.I.P. to Blitz, which is now a 24 movie. And now in August, I've got Emily Blunt for Oppenheimer, Lily Gladstone for Killers of the Flower Moon, Taraji P. Henson for The Color Purple, Divine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers, and Julianne Moore for May December. Took out Danielle Brooks for The Color Purple. Don't feel great about it, but I wanted to put Julianne Moore in for May December, and I think she could coattail in on Natalie Portman as well. In March, you had Danielle Brooks for The Color Purple, Lily Gladstone for Flower Moon, Taraji P. Henson for The Color Purple, Rosamund Pike for Saltburn, and Isabella Rossellini for La Chimera.
Oh, Isabella.
Yeah. And now
I have Emily, Danielle, Lily, Taraji, and Davine.
Okay, so very close.
Yes.
I got nothing.
So you moved Lily from lead to supporting.
I did. Absolutely supporting. I know maybe there's still
I think there's still a lot of like just like film Twitter, I guess, like people who haven't seen a movie. I think a lot of people want her in lead, but you know, me walking out of the movie, I was not confused or debating whether she was lead or supporting.
Not even a little bit.
To me, that was supporting. Can she go lead? Sure. I mean, anyone can run in whatever category they want to. So, but to me, that was like that was a supporting role in the film.
Absolutely, I agree. I was torn on Divine Joy Randolph really too, because I was like reading, I don't even know, idle speculation that her part's not super big in Holdovers, but it also feels like she has like the emotional like part in the movie. So I kept her in. I took Danielle Brooks out just because I didn't want Two Color Purple. I was kind of thinking of like maybe overthinking, but I was like, it feels like, what if this is like women talking, where we had 2 women talking represented the whole year, and then nobody got in. And I'm like, if they don't really love the movie, like, would it actually get 2 supporting actress nominations when there are other performances in movies that maybe they like more? So that was why I took Danielle out. But I kind of think she would be 6th, and I guess I would lose Julianne Moore. Not sure if Julianne Moore is the person who would get in place of her. But other people I considered but didn't put in. Viola for Air, certainly, who I had in previously. I rewatched the movie. It's such a great movie. I don't think she has enough to get in, even though I love the movie and I love
I mean, I think she has enough. It's supporting. Like she has enough to get in, but I just think, like Air came out early and it wasn't like a huge smash, so it'll need another, lifespan in the fall to really push her in. And also depending on like how these other films do. Like I thought about only having one color purple lady too, but I didn't know which one to drop, so just kept them both.
The other person I was thinking of adding was someone who you had previously, which is Rosamund Pike for Saltburn. But
yeah, I got rid of her for Emily. Emily coming for her first nom, finally.
It feels like Emily will get in for Oppenheimer. She's great in the small part and obviously has like a huge moment towards the end. So I think like that'll be enough to get her in.
You would think so. So she has not had the best luck,
No.
but I do think she finally has a vehicle to get her there.
I'll give you other people I thought of, but didn't seriously consider until we see the movie. Certainly Jodie Comer for Bike Riders. I've heard anecdotally that she's great in it. I mean, why not? Jodie Foster for Naiad as a coattail for Annette, especially if that kind of pops as a Best Picture contender, I think could get in. Carey Mulligan for Saltburn, Joyce. Any hope there?
I think that's like a cameo, basically, from what's been said.
Seems likely. 2 people I would actually really like to see in the race. Rachel McAdams for Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret.
That'll
One
be
of the
cool.
great performances of the year. Not sure that movie has enough juice to get anywhere.
I think she's in the same boat as Viola, but like even lower.
Yes. But she's just a wonderful performance. I think she's so good in it. And I think you can't, even though I don't think she should get in, you can't discount America Ferrera for Barbie. Because she's got like the showcase moment in the movie, basically. But I don't know if the humans are served as well as the other characters.
Well, I don't know if like voters care about that aspect. I don't think they're thinking as deeply about that, whether or not the humans were dimensionalized in the film. Like if they're just reacting to that speech. So, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like she's kind of like one of those people who like you were not expecting to have such a moment in the film going into it, and then it's like a surprise, and it is, a great moment for her, and is like the inciting moment in the third act, for the Barbies. And so, but it also feels like she could be someone who like just could just peter off like once we get into the fall, and then like Barbenheimer is like not top of mind anymore. So like I think like she is obviously running third behind Margot and Ryan here, like third priority.
Yeah.
I think she's like, I think people just are just surprised by what she was doing in the film.
Sure. In our odds,
she's also in Dumb Money, your former Best Picture nominee.
Yeah. Not expecting that one. The top 5 in our odds are Lily Taraji, Danielle Brooks, Emily Blunt, and Julianne Moore. And Devondre Randolph is in 6th. So
who do you have winning?
I have Lily winning, but I'm not sure if she will win. I guess it seems like very obvious that she would win. It feels like it was preordained that she would win, and people have just kind of given up thinking about this category for now.
Well, no, I think some people like think she might be in lead. I mean, she can still be in lead.
She could. They haven't decided, obviously, but I mean, it seems like she would be very much, if she switched to lead, it would very much be like Michelle Williams going lead for Fabelmans.
I think even like less so.
Yes.
Because I think like at least like Michelle and Fabelmans had like some moments to herself where
yes,
or like extended moments to herself, and I don't really like. I remember there was like a point in Killers where Lily was gonna do something, and I was like, okay, here we go, like a big scene for her, and then the scene was over in like 30 seconds.
Yes. I have Taraji in second. I think if Color Purple is like great and big, I think it'd be an easy to imagine her winning. So
I think I have her in first right now, right? Yeah, I don't know.
and I would easily put Danielle Brooks in as well if Color Purple like pops.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean I can see Lily winning. And she is, you know, like I think they've already been kind of like angling her like since Cannes, like she's like the heart of the movie, right? Like that's kind of how they're spinning it, and she is, you
Yeah.
know, like
It's just a ready. Everything has just been like kind of boxed up, perfect narrative. Everything is great.
yeah. So I can see her winning, and it is a great performance. I enjoyed her the most in the first act.
Yeah. It would be great. Like I said, if there's like surprises here, I don't know, but right now this is what it feels like. And I didn't want to go too heavy Color Purple, like as I was afraid of the women talking thing that we did last year, where we had like multiple women talking nominees. Plus, I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Like I just didn't like. I feel like May December might not be strong enough to carry like multiple acting nominations.
Maybe.
I mean, I don't even have Natalie in, so
right.
But then I'm like, I guess I could have kept Rosamund, but again, I didn't know like which Color Purple woman to drop.
Right.
So
next we'll do the screenplays, Joyce, and not bad. I would say, at least for me, adapted first. In March I had Barbie, Dumb Money, my fave, Killers of the Flower Moon, Long Day's Journey into Night, and Poor Things. So Long Day's Journey into Night, not out anymore. And see in 24. Maybe I'll predict it then. And there you go. Now I have American Fiction, which I talked about earlier, as like a long shot. But I do think it's Cord Jefferson who won an Emmy for Watchmen, and I think based on a book and just all good things, and seems like something that might be really good. Hopefully, I'm excited for that movie at least. I have Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and The Zone of Interest. In March, you had Barbie, The Killer, Killers of the Flower Moon, Lee, and Oppenheimer. So I imagine you have like a lot of similarities there, at least 3 of them, I would hope.
I have Barbie,
Mm-hmm.
Killers of the Flower Moon,
Yep.
Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and Zone of Interest.
So you went to Zone of Interest. You went to Poor Things, and I went off Poor Things. That's funny, but same 3 there in the Zone of Interest as well. So we have 4 of the same 5. I have my wild card, and you have the more obvious, probably correct Poor Things. So that's good.
Yeah, I mean, like we have Barbie here, but we don't. It could be original, or it could be. I think Warner Brothers would try to push for original.
I think they should push for adapted.
Well, I think based on like the Oscar rules, like I think it would be an adapted, but it's the tougher category for it to win.
I mean, is it I think it could easily win adapted, but I don't know if it could win original against like the ones that I have nominated for original.
I think it can win original because like again, if like Oppenheimer is winning Best Picture, or whatever is winning Best Picture, you're gonna favor the Best Picture winner.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I guess so. We'll see.
Unless you're gonna have Barbie winning Best Picture.
No, but I have it in second. What else? Zone of Interest again.
Well, there's Dune.
So I thought of Dune, but no. I think if I was going to drop American Fiction as a long shot, I would put Poor Things back in, because like it just seems like obvious that like Tony McNamara would get in here for that.
There's Spider-Verse.
I thought Spider-Verse, but I think the fact that it's not as good as the first one hurts it. It would have been I think it would have been an easy nominee if it was actually a better movie. The Killer, I think, A Color Purple. I really wanted to pick Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret as well here. But like I said, not high and top of mind, but I think it's a great adaptation of a very popular and beloved book.
I think it could win or like get some like critics awards.
I also could see getting it at like WGA.
Yeah, like especially with like ineligible.
Correct. So I mean, like I don't think it's like far off of the race, but
it could get scripter.
I just don't think it would be great if it got in, and I think with the right campaign, it really could get in. But I guess we'll see. And then for original Joyce, in March, I had Asteroid City, Blitz, Maestro, Past Lives, and Saltburn. And now I've got Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, May December, Past Lives, and Saltburn. So sorry to those men, Maestro and Asteroid City. In March, you had Blitz, The Holdovers, Maestro, Past Lives, and Saltburn. So not bad. What do you got now?
Now I have Anatomy of a Fall,
Mm-hmm.
Overs, May, December, Past Lives, and Saltburn.
So we have the same 5. That's the top 5 in the odds as well.
I thought this is where I thought about Air, because I was like, should I do Air instead of May, December?
So I'm higher on May December than you, and I have it in basically because I think it feels like where we get in actress and script. But if it's not well received or like kind of like fizzles out, I think Air could easily get in here. It's got the great Sorkin cosplay script, so why would it not get in?
And also like a great, like, I mean, not like narrative, whatever, but just like Alex Humbery, like Matt and Ben, they gave him sole credit, even though they're like, this is your first script. It was a spec script, and obviously they did their own passes on it, but they wanted to pay it forward.
Yes,
for him, so it's like a great story too.
Mm-hmm. And you dropped Maestro.
I guess I did. Yeah.
Sorry, Bradley.
I mean, you don't have it either, right?
I don't. I dropped it too.
Yeah.
I think it could get in, but I think, like you said, I think Air is a better bet. To get.
I mean, I haven't seen it, so like, I mean, at this point, I'm going off of things I've seen and promotional material that's been released.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
to win, I actually think I have I think I have Saltburn winning.
I don't know what I have in first.
Past Lives and Holdovers are first and second in the odds.
Yeah. Oh, I have Past Lives in first, huh?
I think if Saltburn is great, I think it could be a solid Best Picture nominee and stronger Best Picture nominee than Past Lives. So that's why I put it in.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll see. Those are the top 2, and Holdovers obviously would be like an easy kind of like.
I mean, well, I remember you last time not having Holdovers because it was not written by Alexander Payne.
Correct. But then I watched the trailer and I was like, fine. I also think people will think it's written by Alexander Payne, and that'll probably help too.
I think there definitely will be people who think that.
So I think people are gonna be like, I love that Alexander Payne. What a great writer. Name check.
There's what else is there? There's Rustin.
So 6th in our odds is Maestro, 7th is Air, 8th is Asteroid City, and 9th is Rustin. Rustin is big and good. I think I could get in here. I think I could get in actor, but I'm not banking on it as being as a big deal.
Yeah, like I can see it, just like everything I've heard about it is like focused on Coleman.
I think a person I would keep my eye on is Chloe Dumont or Domont. How do you say her name? For Fair Play. Feels like a cool screenplay nominee potential.
That was a good trailer they cut.
Great trailer. Seems like a really fun talking point movie that's like kind of a throwback to like the 80s and 90s. Seems like the type of lone nominee here. Like, I guess I would put in the same boat as like Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, kind of as like a probably will get like other screenplay nominations this year, but on the fringes and maybe as a contender. Depends on how much they can push it.
There's Priscilla.
How is that original?
I don't know.
Fingernails, I think, could be good. Sounds like an Eternal Sunshine-esque drama. So if that ends up being good and big, I think that could pop here.
Yeah, there's down here. There's Bob Marley's in 15th.
Yeah, no. How about the Iron Claw here?
That's in 18th. Right above Priscilla, which is in here for some reason.
I think Fair Play would be the one.
They're showing up, which was,
Yeah.
I don't think so though.
No.
Perfect Days. I'm just like scrolling now. Chevalier. Remember that last year too?
So many years of Chevalier.
Yeah.
The many years of Chevalier.
Blue Jean.
Yeah, it just seems a little small.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, How Do You Live? That's in 13th. Joyride is in 12th.
Is it?
Well, I'm just reading what I have in front of me. So
It hasn't been updated very much, I guess. So you could go make your picks now if you're watching this and update, give us better odds to look at. Certainly. Joyce, I got an email that we could read. Already getting Oscar emails. Slugfest@goldderby.com. It's a great place to email us, and we'll read them on our show. Hi, Joyce and Chris. This is my second time writing in. This is Frank. I've been loving the content. I have a few questions, but don't feel like you have to answer them all. Frank, I'm not going to read them all. Just tell you that right up front. Joyce, I'm only reading a couple of these.
So rude.
I'm just reading a couple of these. Maybe Frank will save a couple of these for later. Is there any chance Ryan Gosling rides Barbie's wave to a win? I was rooting for him for La La Land, but knew it wouldn't happen. His other nod was for Half Nelson, and I know the nom was the win there. I remember you guys said that the Academy tends to not award handsome young men. I believe you were talking about Leo at the time. Do you think that's a big contributor as to why he wasn't taken seriously as a winner for La La Land, or did they just not love the performance? I love that performance, but I think it was...
I'm not a big La La Land person, but I just don't think Casey was losing that year.
That's the problem. I don't think it was anything against Ryan. I think it was just like a steamroll. And I think we might, like we had just said, might be running into that again with Downey, who seems like well on his way.
Yeah. I think it is funny he brought up like the young handsome men thing, because remember when Ryan was cast and then the internet was like, he's too old to play Ken because he's 40.
Awesome. Love the internet. It's never not bad. His second question, Joyce, was, why do you think people are over-predicting Killers of the Flower Moon by having it winning Best Picture when The Irishman didn't walk away with a single Oscar? Food for thought there, I guess.
Wow, Frank. Has Frank seen Killers of the Flower Moon?
I don't know.
Or is he just going off of the Ofer?
Maybe he's just going off. Yeah.
I mean, I think because it's just, it's Marty, and it, like you said, like it could be his like final big film.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think, well, no, this time last year we already knew it was not coming out. But last like spring, early summer, it was heavily predicted to win when people thought it was coming out in 2022. Yes, so I think this, like, no matter what year this movie is coming out, it's always going to be predicted to win.
I think there's always the Marty, I don't know if it's tax is the right word, but there's always the Marty, you're going to get the Marty boost. Always going to expect him to get multiple nominations and be a favorite to win.
Yeah, and I think if like he were making this like 20 years ago, it would not be the case. It would just be like another, I mean, like Gangs of New York, like people were waiting for it and it was delayed, for like a year and everything. But it's like, I don't think there's this like desire or want for him and the film to do well as much, because like you knew like he still had like decades of work ahead. But I think it's like the fact that he's 80, and he's made those comments. He's like, he now finally feels like he's like mastered the craft and he's running out of time. It's like, you want this for him, and you want him to have another Oscar, and you want the film to do well. So I think that's why it's being, quote, over predicted.
I think it's like a type of, like I said, I'm very excited to see it again. And I think it's a movie I will think about a lot in terms of like what it means for Scorsese's career and like what he's saying for many years after like the Oscars. But I'm not sure if that's enough for me to predict it to win multiple Oscars.
Yeah, I need to see how like the general public responds to it.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So like we already know how, some critics have responded to it very favorably coming out of Cannes, which was also expected.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't expect a bad movie from Marty either. And I really like, I enjoy the film a lot, but I also don't think like it's a long film and it's not like quick like Oppenheimer is either.
That's one of the reasons I think is like, I think Oppenheimer is a movie that will play, obviously, like there was such a pushed to see it in theaters and like the Nolan formats and all that stuff. And it's been like a blockbuster in IMAX and 70 millimeter. But I think it will play really well no matter where you watch it because of the pace. And I think Killers of the Flower Moon, I am dubious of how it will play at home versus Oppenheimer, let's say.
Yeah, and like Apple and Paramount are obviously, behind it theatrically.
Yeah, it'll be in the theater for a while. So that's good.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah, but again, I don't know how many people will go rewatch it multiple times like they're doing with Oppenheimer.
Right. I will.
You know?
I'm gonna go see it again.
So
I'm a weirdo though.
I mean the sound thing is also like a big deal. It's Dolby for Killers. So but yeah, I think like I said, like I think it's good for Oppenheimer that Killers of the Flower Moon is still viewed as the one to beat.
I think you could end up thinking like it's going to be competing against Oppenheimer, or Oppenheimer is going to be competing against Flower Moon in almost every category. You could argue that visual effects aside, I think Oppenheimer maybe gets in visual effects, right? Because of like the practicality of it but I'm like sound, like you were saying, I think Oppenheimer's got to be like front runner there, even though we can't predict this. But I mean, Killers of the Flower Moon sound is incredible. Score, I think both Flower Moon and Oppenheimer would be very well represented there. Production design for sure. And I think actually Killers of the Flower Moon might have the edge there. Editing, I think definitely Oppenheimer, and Thelma would be, you can never count her out, but I don't know if it's too long, because that sometimes is a ding and then she won't get in. But I think,
and it's also like Killers of the Flower Moon is straightforward.
Yeah. And cinematography, I absolutely think both will get in. So I'm like, it's gonna be competing against Oppenheimer, or Oppenheimer versus Killers of the Flower Moon, in like maybe 8 or 9 maybe categories, right? I mean, like picture, director,
so
actor.
I think it could get like Killers of the Flower Moon could get 10 nominations just like Irishman did. I think it could win one at least, unlike Irishman. I don't know what. It could win like a craft.
Or Lily Gladstone.
Yeah.
Most people would say that would be their win. But I'm like, picture, director, adapted screenplay, actor, supporting actress, supporting actor, score, cinematography, sound, production design is 10. Both Oppenheimer and Flower Moon I would have for 10 right there. And then I think editing is 11 for Oppenheimer, and maybe also Flower Moon. And then 12 would be visual effects for Oppenheimer and not for Flower Moon, probably. I mean, that's like a crazy amount of Oscar nominations for these two.
Yeah, like they're basically in every category.
Yeah.
So
costumes.
It'll be interesting. I can see. I mean, both their costumes are great. I mean, like Killers of the Flower Moon costume, like all the Osage costumes, incredible.
I mean, I definitely think that'll get in. I think Oppenheimer could be one that doesn't get in for costumes because it's just men in suits, and maybe people don't take that as seriously. But it's great costumes.
Yeah, great costumes, beautiful costumes, great gowns,
beautiful gowns.
And yeah, I think like it will be interesting like to see if they get snubbed in any of these.
Well, I think that'll be a big tell on Oscar nominations day of which movie.
Like even like with the guilds. So
yeah.
But yeah, I don't think it will go home empty-handed if that's what Frank is.
I don't think so either. I think Flower Moon will definitely have.
Yeah, but I think it is. I think that's why it's the ostensible front runner right now, because it's the Marty factor. Right. Like I think if like another director made it, it probably wouldn't be like in first, or so heavily predicted to be in first.
I bet you that's true. Last one of Frank's here, I'll just give you, because I just thought this was interesting. I love thinking about this in sports, so it's always fun to have it in movies. When I see articles that ask if anyone can ever best Katharine Hepburn for wins, do you think it's fair to compare her 4 victories to contemporary actresses' success? Hepburn was from a time when there were not as many movie stars, independent studios, etc. I kind of think Meryl Streep or Frances McDormand's 3 wins are a bit more impressive because of the amount of content they have to compete against. Nothing against Katharine Hepburn, but one of her wins was also a tie, so I tend to feel like Streep and McDormand are the best of the best. What are your thoughts?
Frank doesn't like ties.
No, he's not in the Critics' Choice Awards voters, I guess.
I mean, that tie also happened because they prematurely made Barbra Streisand a member so she could vote for herself.
Yes.
So are we supposed to drag Katharine Hepburn right now?
Well, no, but I was thinking more like it's tough to compare eras.
Yeah, like tough to compare eras.
And
It's
I
like
feel like
Jordan and LeBron.
yeah, Jordan, LeBron, or like Shohei Ohtani or Babe Ruth. I'm like, it is
Yeah.
like it's a different sport, and I think the entire
Listen,
industry.
I mean, you know me in tennis. I got to live through three goats simultaneously. You know, I also grew up with like Sampras and Agassi
Sure.
too, but you know, I wasn't really around for like McEnroe and stuff.
I was around for them
But
and Sampras and Agassi. Those are
yeah,
my.
but yeah, it's hard to. I mean, I remember when Pete Sampras retired 20 years ago at the U.S. Open, after winning his last U.S. Open in 2002, and the thinking was like, wow, like 14 slams, like that's gonna be tough to beat. On the women's side, you know, Steffi at 22 in the Open era,
Right.
but it's like, man, tough to beat. And he was probably thinking that too, not to project my feelings onto Pete Sampras, but now we have three guys with at least 20. But it's like they didn't really play. Like Roger Federer played Pete Sampras in 2001 at Wimbledon, beat him and everything. But it's hard to compare, especially when they like in sports when they have not played against each other
Yeah.
either. And then acting is a completely different thing because art is not competitive either.
No. And it's, I think different styles of acting are more valued in different eras. I think like Katharine Hepburn,
and especially about the Oscars too.
Right. Like Katharine Hepburn style of acting, I'm not knocking it at all, but it's completely different than like what Frances McDormand or Meryl Streep is doing, right? I would say. And even like now, like someone like Carey Mulligan, I don't think they're I just think it's all different. It depends on your era. So I do think history is valuable in a lot of ways for like looking back and being like, oh, how has historically things performed or what has been liked. But I don't think, especially like you said, it's not competitive in acting or movie or art.
It's just it's your personal preference.
Yeah, but I do think preferences change a lot over time. So I think it's actually harder now to win multiple Oscars than it was when Katharine. I do think that's true. I think it's harder now to win multiple Oscars, or you need to be special in a certain way to win.
Well, it's also like with her too. Like she won her first one in the 30s, and then she won 2 and 3 back to back in the 60s.
Right.
And then her last one in the 80s. So there was a large gap between 1 and 2.
And I think you could say that for Meryl too. Meryl winning.
Well, she had a large gap between 2 and 3.
But Fran, I think, is like incredibly impressive.
Yeah, Fran had a large gap between 1 and 2, and then a very small gap between 2 and 3.
Right. And
I also think she benefited, like for 3, it was just like chaos that year, you know, like
it was, and I think she benefited from having like the best picture front runner, basically. But yeah, it's interesting to think about. I don't know. I mean,
I don't think like they're consciously thinking about like we can't give someone a third Oscar, because that was also what was holding people back from predicting Fran too, because it's like she just won her second one.
Right.
Like if they like that performance, if they like that movie, like they'll vote for it. Like they're not going to stop voting for someone because they won very recently. So they didn't stop, you know, themselves from voting for Katharine Hepburn when she won the year before.
Right.
So but yeah, I mean, obviously there are a lot more actors
and a lot more stuff.
Yeah. And no studio system either. So they could pretty much do whatever they want. They could also make their own films, produce their own films. But I do think like, I don't think the Oscar voting preferences in those categories have changed that much. Like, I think we still know what appeals to voters.
Right.
So, but
and that's it, Joyce. So this was a lot of fun. So we said this is our Oscar preview. We're gonna come back to the Oscars in a few weeks, I guess, right? We're gonna do a couple more
after all the fests.
Yeah, so this is August 31st when you're watching it. We're gonna do the Emmys on September 7th and September 14th, and then into the Oscars we go, I guess. And see you later, Emmys in 2024 or December, maybe. What fun! This is great. I love these picks. I can't wait to look at them again at the end of the. We'll look at these picks, I guess, at the end of when we do this next.
Well, year. I feel like they wouldn't change that much now going forward.
No, probably not. We'll see. Maybe one or two. All right, Joyce. This was fun. I'll talk to you later. Bye.